The year is 2023 and the Nintendo Switch console is just over 6 years old. This thing has had a hell of a good run, selling over 125 million units, exceeding all expectations, becoming Nintendo's best-selling home console to date, and one of the top-selling consoles of all time. After the financial failure of the Wii U, this was exactly what Nintendo needed to restore its relevance and reclaim its throne as the king of console gaming. The Switch wasn't exactly a powerhouse when it launched in 2017. The NVIDIA Tegra X1 chip it uses was already a couple years old by then, having released back in 2015. I don't see a lot of people mention this aspect, but the memory bandwidth is actually a huge hamper on the console's overall performance. I highly recommend you check out this video by Modern Vintage Gamer, in which he shows just how much better Tears of the Kingdom can run when you overclock the memory. Anywho, we're at the point where even first-party games are really starting to push up against the Switch's limits, and you can see that the console is actually holding some titles back. Don't get me wrong, I'm 100% about gameplay over graphical fidelity, but when you have a near flawless game like Zelda and it stutters in certain scenarios, I think it's warranted to be asking for a more capable machine. Console generations generally last around 7 years, a point we are now approaching. In the latest shareholder meeting, Nintendo stated not to expect any hardware announcements this fiscal year. Nintendo's fiscal year ends in March, by the way. My prediction is that sometime in 2024, we'll start to hear rumors or even get some kind of official confirmation of a successor, and a full launch will happen in 2025. For the purposes of this video, I'll be calling it the Switch 2, but I strongly believe that it won't be called anything like that. I don't think Nintendo will reuse the name of the Switch, only because the last time they tried that with the Wii U, it was their worst blunder in a very long time, damning them to irrelevancy for an entire generation. I'm sure it'll end up with some wacky name that no one will be able to predict. What I do foresee sticking around, however, is the Switch's hybrid console form. Combining Nintendo's handheld line with their home console line into one platform was perhaps the smartest business decision they've ever made. Gone are the days of a game only being on either handheld or the home console side. Everyone can own a single Nintendo console and purchase the same software. It's hardly surprising to see the sheer speed at which games on Switch sell at. It speaks volumes that games like Zelda or Pokemon are selling faster than they ever have before, surpassing an astonishing 10 million units over the course of a single release weekend. Any other developer would be over the moon if their game hit that number after 2 or 3 years on the market. People instantly fell in love with the novelty of being able to play home console games anywhere they want, seamlessly switching between their home TV to on the go. Now, even the PC space has hopped on the bandwagon with the likes of the Steam Deck and ROG Ally. Of course, handheld PCs have existed before the Steam Deck, but we're finally at a point where non-enthusiasts are joining the fray, and the whole space is becoming mainstream. Nintendo almost always goes out of their way to radically change the design of their products from one generation to the next, and in the past couple decades has favored the inclusion of some kind of gimmick that seems strange at first, but then turns out to be innovative, at least some of the time. I remember when the Nintendo DS was revealed, and people weren't sure what to make of the second screen. No one could really wrap their head around how it would be properly utilized, but it would go on to transform handheld gaming as we knew it. The 3DS, on the other hand, never really hit the same highs as the OG DS, and most people turned off the stereoscopic 3D effect because the vast majority of games just didn't add much to the overall experience. My hunch is that Nintendo will have some kind of novel technology in the Switch 2 to differentiate it enough from the Switch. It's going to be more than just a bump in the tech specs and calling it a day. What that gimmick will end up being, I don't think anyone has the ability to guess accurately. Nintendo always finds a way to surprise the world with ideas that come out of left field but end up being cool. But what about those tech specs? What would be a realistic generational jump from the Switch? Well, I think that for starters, the screen resolution can be raised a bit to something like 1080p, or even match what the Steam Deck has at 1280 by 800. I don't think that the screen on the current small display of the Switch needs to be bumped that much, honestly, as too high of a resolution would sacrifice battery life and performance unnecessarily when it's difficult to make out a sharper image at that size anyways. That being said, I think that OLED displays need to be standard going forward. It would just be weird for people who have an OLED Switch to effectively downgrade display technologies when buying the next generation. The Switch had double the RAM of the Wii U's 2GB, and I think it's fair to say that we'll get at least double again for the Switch 2, bringing it up to at least 8GB of LPDDR5. I'd like to be wrong here and have them match the Steam Deck at 16GB, but Nintendo hasn't been one to chase big numbers on technical sheets in a long time, so I'm doubtful. The SoC could go either way as far as I'm concerned. They could get Nvidia to make them a new custom chip, or choose one of AMD's latest mobile processors that have been used in all the best handheld PCs. The most important thing here is the chip's support of modern upscaling technologies, namely Nvidia's DLSS or AMD's Fidelity Super Resolution. That, I think, will be the key to allowing the Switch 2 to output a significantly higher resolution to a TV through a docking system. If you've played around with a Steam Deck and FSR, you know that the results can be kind of hit or miss, but PC games aren't all built with the Steam Deck or FSR in mind. With a console ecosystem, all games for it could be required to make use of the upscaling tech, to the great benefit of all of us with high-resolution monitors and TVs. Finally, and this one might be a pipe dream, but I'm really hoping for some form of backwards compatibility on the Switch 2. The Switch game cartridges are a fantastic format, and since they make them in a variety of storage sizes to match the size of the game that's going on them, there's really no reason to reinvent the wheel here. Just keep using the same slot, allow us to play our old Switch games on it, and to have an instantly massive available catalog of games playable on the system at launch, rather than only a handful of launch titles. It would be awesome to be able to play all of my Switch games at higher resolutions, or just more solid frame rates on this new console. Backwards compatibility isn't a completely foreign concept for Nintendo either. The Wii U could play Wii games, the 3DS could play DS games, the DS could play Game Boy Advance games, and the Game Boys were backwards compatible with previous generations of Game Boy. It would be such a treat for the Switch 2 to have this ability. As always, I'd love to hear what you think. How do you envision the Switch 2 looking? If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing, it would mean a lot to me. When I hit 1,000 subs, I'm going to do a full game room tour you won't want to miss. Until next time, thanks for watching.